Hey guys, welcome back to Econ Time with SK. So grab your notebooks, your favorite cup of coffee, and let's get started. So in this series of videos, we are going to be focusing on supply theory, which means we are going to be looking at the producer's side of things. Thus far, our focus had been on demand, and we had mainly been looking at the consumer's point of view. Okay, so let's get started. Now, the one thing that you need to remember is that if you understood concepts in demand theory, then things are going to be very similar when we are exploring the supply side of things. Okay, for instance, before you learned about what is the difference between quantity demanded versus demand, now you're going to be looking at what is the difference between quantity supplied versus supply. Okay, before we looked at the law of demand, now we're going to look at the law of supply. Before we had looked at what is individual demand versus market demand. Now we're going to look at what we mean by individual supply versus market supply. And what you'll notice is that if you understood what was happening with the demand side of things, it is quite similar when we are looking at it from the producer's point of view. The concepts are similar. Okay, so moving forward, let's first define supply. Okay, so supply essentially is defined as the willingness and the ability to produce and offer to sell different goods at different prices in a given period of time. So again, focus on these words, willingness and ability. Okay, next we come to the law of supply. So let's actually again draw some parallels, right? Okay, so we had seen that the law of demand told us that the demand curve will always be downward sloping, right? And by downward sloping, what do we mean? We mean that if the price was to fall like this, then the quantity demanded would actually rise. All right. Or the reverse is also true, that if the price were to rise like this, the quantity demanded would actually fall. So basically, the law of demand told us that there was an inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded. Okay. Now we are coming to the law of supply. And the law of supply basically tells us that there's a positive relationship between price and quantity supplied. All right, so basically what we are saying is that price যদি বাড়ে, then producers basically produce and sell more, which means that the quantity supplied goes up. And this also means that when the price goes down, producers produce and sell less, right? So the quantity supplied goes down. Of course, both of this is true when you're holding other factors constant, right? So the non-price factors are held constant. Remember, this is what we mean by ceteris paribus. Okay, so just like before, remember, we had to find out justification. All right, justification or underlying reason why this positive relationship always holds. All right. For that, we come to the next slide. Okay. And let's see what it's telling us. So it's basically, we're asking the question, why is it that the supply curve is upward sloping? That means that there's a positive relationship between price and quantity supplied. Okay. So here it's actually written very succinctly. অনেক সংক্ষেপে লেখা আছে যে প্রাইস যখন বেড়ে যায় তখন suppliers, they're willing and able to produce more because more costly techniques become affordable or profitable now. Okay, I'm actually going to give you an example by drawing the supply curve separately. So think of two types of producers. Okay, let's say there are two types of producers. There are low-cost producers and there are high-cost producers. And let's put numbers here just because it's going to be easier for you. Let's say that for the low-cost producers, their cost of production is taka 100. And let's say for the high-cost producers, maybe they use some more expensive technology, whatever it is, their cost of production is taka 400. Okay. Now let's go to this supply curve. Okay, so now let's look at the supply curve here. Let's say that the market price for this particular good is taka 120. So for the guys whose cost of production is 100 taka, the low cost producers, they're quite happy supplying at this price. And let's say, they're willing to sell Q1 amount. All right, and the reason that they're willing to sell this amount is because price is more than the cost of production. So price is sort of like think of it as revenue per unit. So basically what they're earning by selling the good, it covers their cost of production. Okay. They would be happy to sell even if the price was lower than 120. Just to make our life easier, let's call this 50 units. That would be 50 units. Okay. Now, let's say suddenly the price for some reason goes up. All right. Let's say the price goes up to taka 420. Now what happens? Remember the high cost producer whose cost of production was 400? Now he can actually enter into the market, right? He is now willing to sell. So at taka 420, the high cost producers enter the market. Why do they now enter the market? Because now it's profitable for them to sell the good. Why? Because now the price that they're going to be earning, which is 420, it is greater than whatever is their cost of production, which is 400. So basically they are now able to make a profit, and so they're going to enter the market, and so production goes up in the market to Q2, right? Which, let's make up a number. Let's say it is now 120. All right, so Q2, it's 120. Okay, so you see that when the price goes up, then producers who have a higher cost of production can enter the market, and so the quantity supplied also goes up. So let me summarize it here. As price goes up, producers with higher cost of production can now join the market. They can enter the market because what they earn in revenue basically covers their cost of production and allows them to make a profit. And so quantity supplied in the market goes up. So you see, we have this positive relationship between price and quantity supplied. Okay, so with that, we end this first part of the video on supply theory. And in the next video, we are going to be looking at the difference between quantity supplied and supply. All right, guys, I shall see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.